this is Oscar Pick for International Boxing News. I'm joined by Frank Smith of Matchroom Boxing. Frank, you're obviously here supporting Shabazz Massoud tonight. What have you made of the build-up to this fight in terms of, there's been a bit of needle here with Liam Davis. What have you made of all of that?
It was always going to be fiery between the two of them, and it's a great fight. It's a 50-50 fight. It's a real fight. It's the kind of fights we want to deliver, and it's great that we're working together to deliver these kind of nights. It was always going to be a bit of back and forth. There's always a bit more spite as well when there's a delay. It just gives it that longer time for the tension to build. This was supposed to happen back in July, I think it was, but we're finally here. A great fight. I'm looking forward to Shabazz doing the business.
Obviously, Shabazz has got 2 wins over Liam Davis in the amateurs, but I get the feeling that a lot of people are making Liam Davis a slight favourite. What have you sort of made of that response in the lead-up to this fight, from the fans especially?
Yeah, look, I think Liam Davis has been built up to this point. He's a big finisher. We've seen what he can do, but at the same time, I think this is the kind of fight Shabazz needs. He's been active the last. He had the fight where he headlined our Next Gen show, and then he boxed in an 8-rounder after Liam Davis pulled out. So he's had a bit more activity than Liam, and I think this is the kind of fight that's going to show where he's at. We believe he can go in there and do the business, but Liam has probably had some better performances as of recent times. But I believe Shabazz is going to do the business.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to that main event. Obviously, just away from that, I saw a little news story that the prize fighter tournament is in a bit of jeopardy. Can you just give us a quick update on that, please?
Yeah, look, it's an ongoing legal dispute we've got going on. We had the quarterfinals back in July in Osaka. The semis were supposed to be in October. We've got conversations ongoing and a legal position ongoing, but as soon as we can talk about it more, we will. At the minute, restricted on how much we can say.
Obviously, I believe you've moved Kieran Conway to an upcoming card. How is this going to sort of impact his career? Because obviously he potentially had 2 fights lined up there. How are you going to move his career on if the prize fight tournament does fall through?
Yeah, look, we got to mitigate his position. Obviously he was supposed to be having that semi-final and then could have got into the final of that tournament. We got to make sure we keep him active. That was the job. And when there was some jeopardy, I always said to his team that we'd look at getting him on November 30 if that tournament wasn't to happen. So he hasn't had too much of a delay. He probably would have preferred to be a bit more active, but I'm glad that we at least got him out on November 30th. It's a good fight for the Commonwealth title, and then look for the British title early part of next year.
Obviously, we've also got Boots and Bam coming up, a nice double header there. I feel like these two complement each other quite well, actually, fighting on the same card. What have you made of the sort of response from the US public in particular to this double header coming up?
Yeah, look, it's a great card. 2 fighters there in Boots and Bam who undoubtedly are pound-for-pound stars, not just now but for the future as well. Special fighters, both of those guys. After this, Boots is going to look for unification. Bam wants only the biggest fights in the sport, whether that's in the US, whether that's in Japan. We got to make the biggest fights for him. So excited about what's to come. The fans have taken it really well. The Wells Fargo Centre last time we were there in July was packed, and it will be no difference next Saturday.
I saw Robert Garcia say something about potentially another double header featuring both Bam and Boots at some point next year. Can you maybe elaborate on that, or have you not heard much about that?
No, not right now. Obviously, the focus is November 9th, and then we'll see where we go from there. Like I say, we got to look for unifications for the guys and go from there.
Well, one fight that has sort of been mooted is the Virgil Ortiz Jr. fight for Boots. And I know you've obviously said you're looking for unifications with the other champions, but if a fight with Virgil Ortiz Jr. is presented to you, is that something that you would take for Boots?
Look, I think Boots would take on any challenge. That's what he does. He goes in the big fights. He takes on any tests. He believes in himself, as do we. So, if that's a fight that's there, for sure that's one that we'll look at. But first and foremost, November 9th. And then I think the preference is to unify and go after those other titles at 147.
Absolutely. Well, obviously we've got a few matchroom fighters here in the building. Leigh Wood has obviously been a little bit inactive since that Josh Warrington victory. When can we expect to see him back in the ring?
Yeah, look, we've had discussions with Leigh about fights over a period of time. We've made various offers, but obviously he wants to make sure whatever fight he takes is the right fight for him. So I'm sure he'll have news soon on what's next. We've made him offers for fights. I'm sure he's had other opportunities as well, so let's see.
And just finally, obviously, another fight here, Joe Cordina. Unfortunately, the fight with Shakur Stevenson obviously didn't happen. Is there any interest in maybe rescheduling that fight, or are you looking at some other avenues for Joe Cordina?
I think Shakur's got the mandatory against Zepeda. Zepeda fights in 2 weekends' time on the Latino Night Show in Riyadh. But I think we'll see how things play out. You know, Joe has got a big name in British boxing, so he'll get opportunities. So let's see.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Frank.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.